In this lesson, we're going to be looking specifically at the biological science section of the MCAT. And so timing is going to be very similar as we saw before for at least the biological science section, right? We see the 5 questions in 7 minutes and so on and so forth, up to the freestanding questions, which is going to be around 30 seconds. So it's going to be fairly similar to our averages, but OChem is slightly different. It's going to be 5 questions. It's going to take 5.5 minutes. 6 is going to be 6.5 minutes. And then the freestanding question is going to be 40 seconds. And so the reason why it's different is this, and this is just a personal opinion, but as a whole, OChem is going to be a lot less in regards to passages. You're going to see a lot less passages in the OChem section. And what I mean by that is the passages are a lot easier to digest. There's not much thinking that's involved. It's pretty straightforward, and the passages themselves are fairly short. The second thing is actually general biological science strategies. And this is extremely important because a lot of people, I guess, focus on their innate knowledge of biology. A lot of people are biology majors or physiology majors or neurobiology majors, things like that. So they have a very good background in biology, but they tend to not do well still on the biological section. And the reason why is this, simply because they're testing a lot of different things. One thing that's very important that you probably aren't focused so much about in your school is focus on understanding images and graphs, specifically in research, right? A lot of times for these biological or biology section passages, you're going to be focusing a lot on the images, and people tend to gloss over images even when you're reading something, right? How many people, when they read a textbook, they don't even look at the pictures, right? And they just focus on continuing with the words. And it's very normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the MCAT section, you have to focus a lot on the images. That's where you're going to get 90% of your information is going to be from the images. If you can understand the images or the graphs that they're showing well, specifically for the biology section, you'll be doing very well. Second thing is know your lab techniques. And these lab techniques are very, very important. For example, extraction and distillation, things like that. These are things that you need to know, just the experiment of how it works. Also, gel electrophoresis is another thing that's more, I guess, on the genetic side of things or biochemistry side of things that people tend to forget. And this is almost as important as hormones, right? These two go hand in hand, where if you can memorize your hormones, if you can know all the lab techniques, and lab techniques show up in biology and OChem, then you'll be increasing your score dramatically, right? Those two are very heavily tested on over any other subject. That's why a lot of your books have lab techniques as the last chapter. That's actually one of the first things that you should look at, as well as hormones, in order to get that massive increase in the very beginning. Right? Understand that most of the knowledge that you will learn or that you will know is going to be learned on that test day. Right? So if you've ever taken a practice exam, a lot of things, they're not just testing basic knowledge, right? They're not just testing simply, what does this organ do, or what is this pathway, or things like that. They tend to manipulate these questions in very convoluted ways. And a lot of it is they're not actually testing raw facts. They're giving you information, and you have to extrapolate that information that you know onto this passage, right? So just stay calm. That's the one thing that I think that most people have difficulties with, is that they're so used to, especially on practice exams, especially the ones that AMC has provided, is that they tend to give practice exams that, especially the biology section, just facts, right? Simply just facts. And as soon as the student sees on the real exam that they're not going to be facts, that you have to extrapolate a lot of information, a lot of graphs, a lot of research, things like that, well, then that's when they start to get very nervous and they don't stay calm. So stay calm, know that most of the knowledge you won't know. You won't know, but if you've studied well enough and you understand the major concepts rather than try to memorize facts, you definitely can answer the questions fairly easily. It's going to require work, but just stay calm. That's the one thing that is probably the hardest part to do, is staying calm during that real exam rather than practice exams. But the real exam is actually staying calm and knowing that most of the stuff you will learn on the spot.
For more educational resources, like our medical ID cards, check out medicalbasics.com.
That brings us to our next point of highlighting and notes. And I think this is one of the biggest issues that people have for a number of reasons. One is people tend to highlight too much, right? They tend to highlight way too much to the point where the entire passage is pretty much highlighted. And the second thing is also people tend to forget how difficult it is actually to highlight on the actual exam. So if you practice on a piece of paper when you're taking this exam and you tend to highlight a lot of things, especially when you're studying out of these books and you're doing passage problems, you tend to highlight a lot of things. But in reality, when you take the actual exam, chances are you won't be highlighting anything. It's just going to be too tedious to do. It's not impossible to do, but it's not the easiest thing. So that's why you should practice on a piece of paper exactly what you would be doing on the actual test day or on a computer, right? So highlight, keep it to a minimum. You shouldn't be highlighting all that much, and notes as well.
Be sure to check out our website, medicalbasics.com, for more educational resources like our medical ID card scrub notes, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips and lessons.